Thank you.
I'll give you a 5-minute warning.
Thanks, Julia. Thank you all. Thanks, everyone, for coming. This is my first time being involved in the Creative Mornings, and I can see what an awesome community you guys have all built together. This is pretty awesome. Thank you for Julia and the whole team for having me as a speaker. I'm honored to share what I do know. I'm not an expert on the topic, but I can relate to it quite a bit through what we do here at the brewery and my body of work as an artist. Again, welcome to Saltwater Brewery, and I hope you guys have a great morning. So a little bit about myself. I was born and raised here in South Florida, right in here in southern Palm Beach County, and I grew up fishing, hunting, surfing, kind of taking advantage of our natural resources mostly. I was really driven to the ocean and to wildlife. I was fortunate enough to have a family that took me out of the water to fish and took me to the woods to hunt and taught me a lot of values that I think that a lot of South Florida is deprived of. We do have a lot of local natural resource. One of the things that I think I took away and I take away from those experiences so much is the ever occurring death of doing, partaking in some of these things. So I've kind of got a little a personal view on how that we are all part of the life cycle. We're all part of the life and death cycle. We'll go into some of that. So I went to school at FAU, graphic design. I came out working for myself, a small office I had by FAU, art studio. I was a fine art major, and I went on to do fine art paintings. You see some of my paintings on the wall here, and I translate those into graphic design and created a business out of that. Through that, started working with some charities and other conservation efforts to kind of help give back. But what it really led me into the bigger picture now for me in my life and what I'm doing here at the brewery. We came together in 2012 here at Saltwater Brewery. One of our other founders, Chris, is here this morning, and his family and a couple other partners. We got together in 2012 and decided to start a microbrewery here in this new booming industry, which was then still kind of in its infancy. But we ground broke in April 2012, and we opened our doors in December 2013. One of the things that we came across when we were deciding, where we were going to go as a brand was we knew we wanted to use the ocean and saltwater as our identity. But with that, we felt like so drawn to giving back to that and the why of what we do. And the why is to help preserve this ocean community and everything we do day-to-day basis. So we're going to talk a little bit about death in a literal sense and how it relates to what we do here at the brewery and what we do to try to kind of fight our own efforts. Every day we're involved in practices that are kind of unavoidably related to the killing of our environment, to the death of our own humanity. It's a crazy world we live in, right? We all can agree on that. As humans, we are part of the ecosystem. We are not separate, and we need to recognize every day when we wake up that death is certain for every organism on this planet. We go about our day to day, and we do our day to day, and we kind of lose track of that sometimes. So it's kind of a cool opportunity this morning to get back to some serious stuff, but at the same time turn into a positive. What we can all kind of do as a positive. Like I said, Saltwater Brewery. So our mission really was to preserve and maintain our greatest wonder. And our attachment and desire to maintain this wonder is what drove us to pursue a way to give back. So go into here. Well, I'm going to go miss my slides here. Sorry, guys. Some of my artwork, as you guys can see, this is all inspired by fishing, diving, hunting. Not many wildlife paintings here, but this all portrays into the conservation that I've become a part of preaching about and actively being involved in. So we're going to move into a little bit about what we actually do here at the brewery and the conservation. Conservation, by definition, is an ethic of resource use, allocation, and protection. Its primary focus is upon maintaining the health of the natural world, its fisheries, habitats, and biological diversity. To me, we can't prevent it. We can't prevent the death of the ocean. We can't prevent the death of living things. We can only try to reverse and prevent what we as humans are impacting to cause that at such a rapid rate. My focus really is going to be on the ocean today. And the ocean, the death of our oceans, the rapid declining of the health of all of our fisheries, it's pretty bad and it's pretty scary. And we can all go about our day to day, and no matter what we do, we are contributing to it. So it became such a big focus for us that we started getting involved in multiple avenues of work that we can essentially give back to certain charities, certain organizations, and certain things that really will make an impact. Not just the preaching, not just the talking about it, but really getting involved hands-on. So we'll get into some of this stuff, and a lot of you guys may have seen a lot of this stuff going on, and have seen a lot of talks. The past 20 years, the ocean has become such a huge, huge issue, and it seems just like every day it gets worse, and every day people keep putting out more fuss about it, but what are we all doing? We're getting in our cars, we're doing everything we can, to do nothing about it. So that's the point I'm driving home today. So it's kind of interesting too, in the way we've related our why and our brand has just, without even trying, has drawn in this massive, group of people and supporters and followers. It's become a marketing tool that is priceless, and it's something that we're passionate about, and it shines right through the work we do, and you can't hide it, and people are drawn to that when you're caring about, especially something as sensitive as the earth we live on, the death of our ocean, the death of species. Where are we going to be in 1,000 years? Are we going to be around, or are we going to kill ourselves? That's essentially what's going to happen. We have to make those choices. Some of the people we've worked with in the past: Coastal Conservation Association, a lobbying committee that works at 17 states, and they work against the commercial fishing and overfishing, and they balance with the recreational anglers, essentially ensuring lifetimes to come of being able to harvest and not over-harvest our oceans. We could say we're fighting the death of the natural world around us, but I mean that more, like I said, in a human sense. The causes we've created, we need to fight. We're fighting our own battle that we've created. It's not like we can prevent this. We're all going to die. The only thing that is certain here is that we're all going to go one day, right? It's become so important that people get angry, people are getting upset, people get physical. People need a voice. Social media is maybe not the right platform. I don't know. It's a real easy way to yell and scream, but it's different when you get out there and you can put your hands on things. You put your hands on dead animals and you relate to the death or passing of a creature. When you see someone pass, I don't know how many of you have, but it's emotional. Many of us have had friends and family, of course, who've passed. It's a natural thing, and we get emotional about it, but how can we get emotional about it if we're the ones kind of doing it to ourselves sometimes, with all the things we're eating and all the things we're putting in our bodies and these lifestyles that we're all living? There's a balance, and it runs through from human and our nutrition all the way through the ocean to animals, and we're all interconnected. The death of one species is partly the death of us. We're all one big circle. A couple more of our partners that we work with, the Surfrider Foundation, their number one thing is against single-use plastics in the ocean. We've all seen the photos like I just showed, the fishing nets, the gill nets, the plastics. This here is a sea of plastic from the Caribbean. I believe this is a recent one after Hurricane Irma that I found. This was just pretty eye-opening. And this isn't just the problem about, I don't want to sit up here and talk about, trash and pollution and all that stuff, but to me, it's such a easy connection to us throwing something away, us using a straw. We're all guilty of it. I'm going to get into some things that we're going to try to do in the future that can try to prevent this stuff. We work with awareness events and on-site here at Saltwater as well, off-site events, and we've worked with some of these charity foundations, some of their banquets and galas, and raised hundreds of thousands of dollars, hundreds and hundreds, just for the sake of lobbying to get these politicians to understand what we're doing is killing us. These are just a photo of some of the microplastics. We recently screened a really cool video, a short film, I should say. Jack Johnson had a big role in it, as well as a 5 Gyres project. It's called The Smog of the Sea. And it was about the smog of the sea is the microplastics you don't see. And there's millions of them out there that are not just on our coastline, they're 400, 500,000 miles out to sea. And they're just eating up everything. Everything's eating them up and dying, And I suggest all you guys, it'd be a really cool video to kind of take upon yourselves to go see. It's a 30-minute video you can check out, but it's very impactful. It's a little bit saddening, but it's the truth. It's the truth. So we've here at the brewery, we've kind of wanted to be setting an example. One of the things that we're trying to do as being in the brewing culture is setting an example for good and making sure that every move that we make is for the right decision, the right reason why. Without that, we would have no drive, we would have not the right passion, and we would be doing things for the dollar. I think for the dollar is what got us here today, and I think we all know that. The dollar can equal death, I guess you could say. It's really a crazy thing. What we've done the past year is get together with, partner with a couple companies, and many of you guys have probably heard about the environmental six-pack rings that we co-created. And we partnered with We Believers and Tequila, which are partners out of New York, Argentina, and Mexico. So it's a worldwide project, and this here is what we're displaying for now. We're still in some testing phases, but this here is the first fully compostable, biodegradable six-pack ring that does not harm wildlife, that actually saves it. And we're about ready for launch. Thanks. Thanks. Yeah, that one definitely deserves a round of applause. That's a big one. It's made out of natural material. Think of it as a paper pulp made from a byproduct of the brewing material, which is wheat and barley. Essentially, we have spent grain that goes out the door and feeds local ranches. Well, we're trying to turn that spent grain back into a product that's usable, fully sustainable, full circle, that's also now, being beneficial to the environment and countering the death of certain species. We've all seen the photos of the turtles wrapped up in the six-pack rings and the birds, and we've all been cutting up the six-pack rings since we were in middle school, or even longer before that. And obviously, it's not really the solution. The solution is to get rid of this type of stuff. So with this step, we could be globally looking at a game changer in not only the beer world, but in a lot of forms of packaging. And why six-pack rings? It applies not only to just the beer industry, but a lot of verticals, like I said. And the single-use plastic problem is the number one thing that everyone can relate to. Many have seen it, like I said, and the photos you can Google search and find whatever you want on it. There's thousands. There's more. Oh, here we go. Yes, there's more photos. This type of stuff is like just what you're finding inside of fish. And as a fisherman, I harvest fish, and I believe in the ethical practice of fishing. But overfishing is where you're becoming a really big issue. And then you add in this type of thing. This is another human cause. I don't think anyone of us want to eat a fish that has that type of stuff in it. It's going to cause our own unhealth. It's these type of things that it's just, again, it proves the full circle of this life and death that we're all kind of and wrapped up in, that kind of never stop to think about sometimes. I think the literal sense of somebody dying is the easy one to go to relate to death, but you look at it as a whole, it's humanity, it's dying, and that's the scary part. So here we are on the 6-pack rings again, of course, and so these are going to be released. We haven't released them yet. We are still in the final testing phases of some of these, but we look for a launch towards the end of December into January. So make sure you guys follow us and keep posted on that stuff. We'll definitely be making announcements. Yeah, they'll be for sale here first, and then they'll go into market. Yeah, as a testing platform. Actually, when we do that, we encourage you guys all to come get them and give us your feedback as well, as that's something that we really need to help this project move forward. So, the only thing that is certain in life is death, and I keep coming back to that because it really is the only thing we can count on. So every day when we wake up, you can't count on that car to start. You can't count on whatever you want to do, that plan, that day, that week, that month, that year, and get upset about something, because you kind of just have to be happy you're alive sometimes. And that we're all here able to drink coffee and mingle together and have a positive morning. And it's amazing. This is something to cherish right now in this moment. It could be gone so fast. And you have 24 hours in a day, right? And it's up to you to decide what you're going to do with those 24 hours. You can do whatever you want with them, but that's what's going to depict, what we are as a culture moving forward. How all of us choose to use those 24 hours if we have them. So, a literal meaning, an environmental meaning, a cultural meaning. I think there's so many different ways that everyone can interpret the word death or what it means, the death of a culture, the death of civilization, the death of, a small creature on the forest floor, a giant creature, a whale in the ocean. We're all interconnected. We are the ones who are causing more harm right now than anything that has ever come and plagued this earth. So I don't mean to sound too dark, but it's one of these things that we really got to focus, and maybe taking away from this could be, a point to take away would just be to change one thing in your life, or think about one thing that could possibly prevent the death of another organism, or unintentionally or intentionally. As a fisherman and a hunter, it's a catch-22, but in my experience in that, the people that are most connected to the natural world are those who are partaking in the act of harvest. And that's not to discredit anybody whose opinion who differs from that, but in my experience, the people that I work with hand in hand in conservation efforts, the Coastal Conservation Association, the National Wild Turkey Foundation, Quality Deer Management Association, all the way to Surf Rider Foundation. These are all people who have a lot of times partaken in the taking of a life of a creature, and they understand it. They really understand it, and they understand how important that moment is, and it becomes emotional, and you begin to really want to make sure that nothing's done, in a way that you can't control. So I would also encourage a lot of you to get involved in some of these conservation efforts and exposing yourself to the realness of nature's power and the ocean's power. And we all know that nature will take us out in the ocean or out in the field as a hunter or a fisherman. I put myself at risk, even surfing, things like that. These ocean activities that we seem at Saltwater Brewery to all kind of gravitate towards. There's a much bigger power here. And the much bigger power is Mother Nature. We can't stop her, and we have to work with her because we are part of it. And I think, I could beat that in your guys' head. It's talked about. Again, it's just, I come back to it, it's just talked about, and we talk about it, but unless you can get involved, it's hard to talk about it. So basically, I want you guys to kind of reflect on where you fit into that circle, and for your own sake, and how it can potentially better you, humanity, and your business even. Like I said, these are just things that we're passionate about at Saltwater. We're passionate about the environment. We're passionate about saving wildlife, the oceans, and it is amazing how far it reaches people. If you look at the campaign that we did with the environmental six-pack rings, and we said edible because the campaign was marketed to be an edible product for basically went to a trash dump, came into the ocean or a waterway somehow or a forest. An animal could actually munch on it and not be harmed. We've rebranded to environmental because of FDA reasons, really, but it's still the same product. But just to give you an example, for a business standpoint, something as serious as this is going along this topic of death. It appealed to so many people. We had zero media investment, not $1. It was all collaborative effort. In less than 5 days, we hit 105 million social media views, 1.8 million shares in 5 days, and 3.5 billion global impressions. So it was one of the most viral campaigns to ever be on the internet in the history of all this, of viral. So I think that just goes to show the importance of how people connect to that, and it relates right to this death, because we inherently know that what we're doing is killing the environment. We can only do what we can to do the best we can to help save it, and encourage you guys all to hopefully support us when we come out with these things and release them, but also to lean towards products that are better for our environment, that are helping save our environment, save us, save humanity, so we don't ruin it all one day. But with that, I just want to say thank you guys. Hope I didn't get too long-winded, but this is I'll end it with this painting that I did from the 2010 Gulf, the oil spill, the Blue Water Horizon, BP Horizon. This is just a depiction of the actual platform exploding. I think there was something like 17 lives lost on that day. It exploded, how many millions of fish and whales and things that were just destroyed. But you're talking about a loss of life from A to Z because we want to drill for oil, so it's like we all get in our cars and do it, but what are we going to do to try to think about the real future? We can't not drive a car now, but maybe in the long future we can be doing things that are a little different. But no matter the meaning to you guys, whether it's cultural, environmental, spiritual, philosophical, death is a part of our life. It's not separate. Every day we get closer to it, and it's something to realize. And I think the moment you can kind of grasp that and understand that, it's like this awakening of like, what can I do better? So hopefully that is kind of what's taken away from this. And anyways, thank you guys so much. Thank you. Okay.